Good afternoon, Trinidad and Tobago. I'm Rishi Harinanan. C News is live at noon.
And I'm Nasira Mohammed with sport.
Topping the news at this time, a new sketch of the man wanted in connection with the kidnapping of Ria Sookdeo has been released by the Criminal Intelligence Unit of the Police Service. According to information received, the suspect was a man of African descent, between ages 30 and 35, has a brown skin complexion, 5 feet 8 inches tall with a muscular build. Police said the man had large eyes and unkempt beard and sideburns. The description was given by an eyewitness. This is the second sketch made public by the police. The first was showing a bearded man wearing a police cap. Ria went missing 23 days ago after dropping her children off at the Picton Presbyterian School. It is said she was dragged out of a vehicle by gunmen and placed in a heavily tinted black X-Trail. Sookdeo's handbag, cell phone and one side of a pair of slippers were left behind. She is 34 years old and is a hairstylist. National Security Minister Edmund Dillon gave the assurance that the Mayaro fire station will be opened and operationalized before the end of October. He was responding to questions during a meeting of the Standing Finance Committee on the 2017 budget allocations. The minister justified a $78 million increase for the fire service and said the fire station built by the former administration would be utilized.
With respect to the Mayaro fire station, you will heard me mention in my budget speech that the fire station will be handed over by the end of this month, and arrangements are being made to have the necessary cabinet approval for the staffing of personnel and equipment accordingly.
Minister of Finance Colm Imbert promised that all back pay owed to the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, fire officers and the Defence Force will be paid by 2017. He said the half of back pay was paid in 2016 and the balance has been allocated in the 2016-2017 budget.
We had originally budgeted to pay 100% of the back pay in 2016. But then when we had the revenue shortfall, we had to adjust that to 50% in 2016 and 50% in 2017. So that's why you see the reduction from 545 million to 331.
The body of a man found in St. Joseph on Wednesday night has been identified. He is Dylan Collins Springer. Reports say at around 11 p.m. on Wednesday, residents of Coconut Drive, Bangladesh heard gunshots in the area, and upon investigating, the body of a man was found in a drain. The body was riddled with several gunshot wounds. And police are still searching for the identity of a partially decomposed body found off a precipice in Las Cuevas yesterday morning. According to reports, the body was discovered in the area of Rincon Village at around 7 o'clock. Now, the body of a man was found floating in the waters of Mayaro Beach this morning. C News understands both hands and feet were tied. Investigators are trying to identify the body. An investigation has been launched into how the children of the Attorney General Faris Al-Rawi came to be holding high-powered military weapons. The investigation was ordered by Acting Commissioner of Police Harold Phillip. The pictures were first brought into the public domain by opposition MP Dr. Rudal Munilal as he made his contribution to the budget debate. Following his revelation in the Parliament, Dr. Munilal called on the Commissioner of Police to investigate whether there was a breach of the Firearms Act with respect to the use of a firearm without the requisite license. He said the police investigation must also determine whether the people photographed are over the age of 25, as strictly mandated by the law. Now, Attorney General Al-Rawi has not yet confirmed if the people in the pictures are his children. However, statements by the Prime Minister and the Defence Force have hinted they are related. Now here's a look at the weather forecast.
Today's hot and humid weather may well spark some rainfall, with only a few showers expected across the plains and a scattering of them across the hills. And there's a slight chance of a thundercloud as well. It will feel very hot in Tobago, 32 degrees Celsius, and in Trinidad, 35 degrees Celsius. If you're heading offshore, look for northerly swells of 14 seconds, affecting those north-facing coastlines, with wind waves of 1.5 to 2 meters through Caribbean and Atlantic waters, and easterly winds of 15 knots. High tide at 2:30 p.m. is followed by a low tide at 9 p.m. That is the latest weather, and I am meteorologist Dina Wallace.
You're watching the C News Live Report at noon. Remember, you can keep up to date with all the latest news on our website at ctvtt.com, or you can check out our Facebook and Twitter pages at C News Live. The body of Curtis Spear, the man who committed suicide at Petrotrin's tank farm in Point Fortin, has been transferred to the police service and immediate family members have been notified. The company says it is continuing to provide counseling support to the family members and their employees during this phase. Petrotrin says their investigation continue, and at this time the company again reminds members of the public to comply with the notices at their various areas of operations that restrict access to unauthorized persons. Police have seized about 1 kilogram of high-grade marijuana in Arima. Reports say the find was made at around 11 a.m. on Thursday by officers of the Northern Division Task Force. Officers say after getting information, they went and executed a search warrant at a home in the presence of a 20-year-old man. The 20-year-old man was detained. He is expected to be questioned before being charged. Minister of Agriculture, Land and Fisheries Clarence Rambarat has assured both conservationists and hunters will be taken into consideration when legislation is tabled on hunting. He again said he understands the need to strike a balance between the need for rural communities that rely on hunting and the other side of the fence, which is the need to preserve and conserve. As a result, he said a team has been set up to ensure both parties get what is necessary. Minister of Agriculture, Land and Fisheries Clarence Rambarat said anything we do in relation to policy making and in relation to legislation must be driven by two things: research and data. To fulfill these requirements in the context of calls for a ban on hunting, the minister shared that he led an exercise to provide appropriate data on hunting, including the reliance of rural communities, the contribution of hunting to the economy, the sort of data that will allow us to make decisions in the future. Through this exercise, he assured that extensive consultations were hosted, resulting in the presentation to him of a report that is strong and solid and is the product of both the conservationists and hunters, one that he said has allowed him to make the appropriate decisions. The minister announced that the Wildlife Conservation Committee will now drive us to the next stage. Addressing the audience at the launch of the Turtle Geotagging Initiative, Senator Rambarat shared that he grew up with a good sense of preservation and conservation, very closely interacting with nature and an understanding of all that is involved in preserving the beautiful species of this country and this country's history and heritage. As the THA election draws nearer, opposition parties are preparing themselves for the race. The Tobago Forwards opened its new party headquarters last evening at Gomez Building, Old Milford Road in Scarborough. Chrislyn Moore, political leader, said all the necessary information about the party can be accessed at this new office. She took the time to address the matter of a lack of proper public transportation in Tobago. She offered condolences to the family of Mr. Roosevelt Kerr, who died as a result of a PTSC bus accident on Monday. She said if voted into office, her party would make it a priority to fix the public transportation woes affecting Tobagonians. The San Fernando wastewater treatment plant remains incomplete. This after the contractor AAA Water Treatment Plant Limited experienced cash flow problems. Several documents regarding the matter have been laid in Parliament by Finance Minister Colm Imbert and member for Diego Martin North East. One of the documents is a letter from the chairman of WASA to the Minister of National Security outlining the problem. The project was being financed through the Inter-American Development Bank. A report from an IDB-financed independent consultant said the contractor underpriced the project at the time of the tender and was unable to complete the project at the contract sum of US $101.7 million. In his letter to Minister Ansel Antwine, WASA's chairman Romney Thomas said a meeting was held with WASA, the IDB and AAA. He said it was agreed that in order to solve the cash flow problem, a second advance payment of $10 million will be paid to the contractor with terms and conditions attached. Now, two females have taken the top awards for the CAPE exams this year. It was announced by the Minister of Education, Anthony Garcia, on Thursday. He said 94.6% of students were successful and they continue to look for improvement. He says 5 government schools performed well, with several of these students claiming top scholarships, including QRC with 6, Couva East achieving 6, St. George's College 3, St. Francois attaining 1, while the Manzanilla Secondary School receiving 1. He noted notwithstanding the excellent results, change was going to come in the awards. He said a realignment process which would see scholarships geared to the developmental needs of the country would take place over the next year.
Raquel Leblanc from St. Joseph's Convent, Port of Spain, was the top performer in the area of business studies, creative and performing studies, general studies, language studies, humanities and technical studies, Raquel Leblanc. And Priya Maharaj from Lakshmi Girls Hindu College was the top performer in environmental studies, information and communication technology, mathematics and natural sciences.
The Tourism Development Company Limited has been hosting representatives from some of the biggest names in the international travel industry. Well-known international companies such as Expedia, Booking.com, Regatta Travel Solutions, Travel Advisor, Motma Travel, and Reef and Rainforest Tours have been attending the TDC Symposium for Tour Operations and Online Travel Agents from the United States and the United Kingdom. In all, a total of 17 tour operators are participating in the trip, 12 from the US and 5 from the UK, to network and negotiate with local tourism stakeholders. Designed to attract key leisure and niche tour operators, the symposium is providing a forum for the international companies to meet and interact with shareholders from the local hospitality, transportation and tour operating segments with a view to establishing market campaigns while at the same time strengthening Trinidad and Tobago's brand in the international market. The program began in Tobago from October 9th and continued on Trinidad from October 11th. And now we have Nasira Mohammed to tell us what's happening in sport. Nasira, West Indies, their bowling struggles.
Now we can panic because Pakistan took the dinner break on 530 for 3. Now time for sports, and it's good and bad news in terms of West Indies cricket. Vishal Singh, the left-handed batsman, struck a career best 161, and Rakeem Cornwall, the off-spinner, took his fourth 5-wicket haul in as many matches to lead West Indies A's to a 333-run rout of Sri Lanka A in the second 4-day game in the Palikkele International Stadium in Sri Lanka. With the win, the West Indies leveled the 3-match series 1 apiece. West Indies A made 509 for 9 declared in their first innings, with Vishal's 161 and Jamal Hamilton with 99. Sri Lanka A made 245 all out. Dikwella made 88 and Karunaratne 68. Cornwall took 6 for 91 in the first innings. In West Indies' second innings, they made 216 for 3 declared. Chandrika made 68 and Hamilton again with the bat made 56. Sri Lanka's second innings was 147 all out. Van der Sar, the only batsman to put up a resistance, with 47. West Indies victorious by 333 runs. And in the second day of the first day-night test match, Pakistan are still batting, and the current score is 530 for 3. Sami Aslam made 90 before he was out. Babar Azam, the person that made 3 centuries in the 3 ODIs recently, made 69. Currently at the wicket is Azhar Ali on 272 not out, and with him is Pakistan captain Misbah-ul Haq on 10. Devendra Bishu took 2 for 105 and Ronston Chase 109. Sports tourism, a term bandied about quite often, more so in these times of economic uncertainty, as a way of diversifying streams of income. More and more, Tobago is becoming the ideal destination for events which promote sports tourism. And on the weekend of October 21st to 23rd, the Tobago Masters Football Tournament will come off for its 6th edition. Let's take a look.
Let's go. Master of the game. See you at Tobago Masters Football Tournament.
My name is Clayton Ince, Master of the game. See you in Tobago Masters Football Tournament.
Hi, my name is Stern John, Master of the game. See you at the Tobago Over 40 Tournament.
Don't call them old. Don't you dare even call them veteran, because these ballers still have it. This October, all of their skills, experience and showmanship will be on display at the Tobago Masters Football Tournament's 6th edition. An over 40s fet match football fiesta.
That of marquee players such as Arnold Doricus, Stern John, Ansel Elcock, Dexter Skeen, Leon St. Louis. These guys have been a part of the tournament, and their skill still shows. So I don't think it's a matter of over the hill, it's a matter of another, as we say, sports for all, is another age group that can be able to participate in an event. whereby they can showcase and continue to showcase their talent.
The event is not only a tournament for these ballers to dust off their cleats. The Tobago Masters also doubles as a sports tourism showpiece as 16 teams of 20 members plus from Trinidad, the Caribbean and even North America take Tobago by storm.
But we have teams from of the islands. We have teams from Barbados, Grenada, Guyana, as well as St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and 2 teams from North America who is joining us for that weekend-long competition. As regards to what TJ wants to see, both inter-island and intra-island transfers, there are teams from Trinidad who will be making each trek across, and an average of 40 persons per team that makes that trek across.
Organizer Jeffrey Edwards is also thinking growth and says there are plans to expand to 24 teams next year.
The family of Australia cricketer Phillip Hughes walked out of an inquest into his death. The 25-year-old batsman died from a hemorrhage in the brain 2 days after being hit on the neck during a match in Sydney on the 25th of November 2014. The 5-day hearing was convened to examine if his death was avoidable. Some players giving testimony at the inquest have been accused of dishonesty for saying they could not recall many of the events of the day. The inquest, which began on Monday at the New South Wales Coroner's Court, heard evidence from players including Brad Haddin, Doug Bollinger and David Warner. Hughes' parents walked out of the inquest as the counsel representing the family, Greg Mellick Senior Counsel, criticized the players for repeatedly answering many questions by saying, "No recollection," or "I can't recall." And on to football news now. European countries will not be able to host the 2026 World Cup because of FIFA's rotational policy. It means the previous 2 host confederations, Europe in 2018 and Asia in 2022, are barred from bidding. The 2026 tournament could involve 40 or 48 nations after world governing body FIFA agreed to study in greater detail the options to expand the tournament from its 32-team format. The proposals will be made at FIFA's next meeting on the 9th of January 2017. And that was the sport for today.
Hurricane Nicole is now moving away from Bermuda after it ravaged the island on Thursday. Here's more from the Weather Channel.
Hurricane Nicole hit Bermuda Thursday as a Category 3, which is the strongest hurricane to affect the island in 13 years. Winds were reported at over 100 miles per hour as Nicole swept over the island. Bermuda's infrastructure is able to withstand powerful storms, but that didn't prevent boats from being damaged, flooding to homes, and power outages that affected over 27,000 residents. Nicole is now weakening as it heads out to the sea.
Now here's a look at some more of what happened in Bermuda overnight and a look at what's happening in other Caribbean islands.
Hurricane Nicole snapped trees, peeled off roofs and flooded homes as it roared across Bermuda on Thursday. The island's government dispatched crews to clear roads and engineers to inspect infrastructure as the British territory moved to recover quickly from Hurricane Nicole, which battered the island as a Category 3 storm. The heavy rains and wind dissipated overnight on Thursday as many of the island's 65,000 residents ventured outside to assess the damage caused by 115 miles per hour winds. Authorities, however, urged people to remain indoors for their safety. Schools and government offices remained closed on Friday, while the island's international airport is expected to open around noon. Members of the St. Kitts and Nevis Police Force, Prison Services and Defense Force have been breaching the law and have been charged with serious offences. In August, Defense Force soldier Roniel Nisbet of Keon was charged with larceny. In September, Vince Kaya Gums of Keon, a prisons officer, was arrested and charged for smuggling marijuana, a cell phone and a charger, scissors, rum and other contraband into the facility. When asked about the incident, St. Kitts and Nevis Commissioner of Police Ian Quealy says the procedures in place to screen applicants to the police force and other security agencies are to be reviewed in order to weed out potential bad apples.
There's a procedure before somebody gets into the system which involves background check, and other investigations within the community from where they come, as well as other organizations where they may have worked or institutions. And so I believe there are more that we can do in terms of investigating persons before they get into the systems.
Barbados Prime Minister Fernando says the nefarious illegal drug and firearms trade is haunting Barbados. On Thursday, he reached out to the church for divine intervention, asking for their help to combat the scourge. Addressing the opening of a national consultation put on by the Anglican Diocese of Barbados under the theme Restoring Our Barbadian Family, he told the gathering that the church and the state have to come together to see how best they can frame a dialogue on the issue. He says both parties need to come up with solutions to the sense of alienation of those who are involved. He says that's what makes them ideal candidates for recruitment to the nefarious drug trade. And that's your Caribbean News Update.
Further afield, Zika is spreading in a third Miami neighborhood. The neighborhood known as Little River is the latest area in Miami to have confirmed Zika transmission. Health officials determined that there was active transmission in the 1 square mile area after confirming 5 non-travel related cases. The 2 women and 3 men infected either live in the neighborhood, work there or visited it. A year of official mourning has begun in Thailand. Thousands line the streets of Bangkok to pay their respect to the world's longest reigning monarch, King Abdulyadej, as the body is moved from hospital to the royal temple. We have more in this report.
The last journey of a king whose long reign defined the modern character of his country. His body was carried in slow procession from the hospital where he died to the Grand Palace, where a sea of mourners dressed in black gathered for a final glimpse of him. The crowd stretched out, unbroken, across Bangkok's old royal quarter as far as you could see.
It's very hard to convey to you the extraordinary atmosphere here among the crowds outside the Grand Palace, waiting in fearful heat to say a last goodbye to the man they simply called Father. It's a powerful, shared sense of national grief felt across the country among people from all walks of life and all shades of opinion.
As the hearse approached the palace gate, a hush spread across the crowd. Most couldn't see clearly, but they sensed his arrival and started sobbing quietly, pressing their palms together in final salutes. They saw in this king a kind of talisman for their country, a man who represented tradition and modernity, a kindly ruler.
Well, that brings us to the end of the C News Report at noon. I am Rishi Harinanan.
And I'm Nasira Mohammed. Thank you for joining us.